Hey everybody, welcome to Licked and Loaded. I'm Laura Desiree, and I don't know about you, but this emotional roller coaster of 2020 has been wearing me down in all sorts of ways, from the loneliness of isolation to just lulling about my days, trying to find a purpose in it all. It's hard to find a way to be creative. It's hard to find that spark that keeps us moving and transforming and adapting into ways that we do accomplish pleasure and accomplish inspiration and feed our souls and our sex lives. Today, I'm chatting with the chief conspirator of my favorite members only club in New York City called NSFW. Now, this is an experience driven community that helps members explore their sexual curiosities, whether it is through physical play parties or whether it is by way of educational conversation. I am in awe of what this collective has achieved over the years that they've been active. And Daniel, who sits as the chief conspirator of the project, is going to be on the line with us to talk all about how they're handling this pandemic and keeping sex lives alive. Let's get to it. Oh, the fabulous Daniel Saynt. Hello, hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm so wonderful. Thank you for making time to be on the show today.
Yeah, of course. This is awesome. Thank you for having me.
It's so cool. It's kind of everything comes full circle here, because if you are watching this on YouTube and you do see that splashy intro of me having an orgasm against a wall, well, that was actually filmed at Daniel's place.
I gotta see that video now.
I know, it's the intro to the show and it's so fabulous. Like, you really should use it for other things too. I use it for other things as well, you know.
Yeah. You
Solo
never know when to
time.
use that.
So Daniel, for all of our viewers that are watching and listening that may not be in New York City or reading any of the many articles that have come out featuring you and NSFW lately, can you give us a bit of an introduction as to what NSFW is and how you're involved?
Yeah, of course. So NSFW is a New Society for Wellness. We're a private members club in New York that focuses on kind of sex and cannabis. And we try to provide people a safe, sex positive space to explore, to discover, to meet new partners, to discover new kinks, to discover new fetishes, to explore tantra, all these things in sex. It's really kind of a adult playground. It's a place for you to learn about these things and enjoy these things and try new things.
Yeah, you make it sound so simple. It's so multifaceted, and what an undertaking to try and kind of guide people through exploring their sexuality, or at least providing them a place to do it in today's day and age. How did you get looped into this? Are you part of the original like creative team on this? I actually don't know.
No, I actually created the company about 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It was a time where I was looking for a community myself. I had recently come out as bisexual and realized that that was something that I wanted in my life, to have those type of connections. And I would go to gay spaces and straight spaces and really didn't find anything that kind of brought my two worlds together. So NSFW in many ways was just kind of a way to create that and give that to more people. And in the process, attracted both sides of the communities and bisexuals alike, and now kind of have this kind of fairly fluid play zone to enjoy and discover.
And there have been multiple play zones. So you're saying this is a 5-year-old operation, but how many clubhouses have you had?
We've had 5, only one that we were, evicted from, because of police. So that was not too bad. We've had 5 clubhouses. We keep growing as the membership grows. So, we kind of, outgrow a space and then realize we need a space for 50 or 100 or 200 people at a time. And we've just kept growing as the membership's grown.
Yeah, and that's typical of New York, anyways, to have to kind of move to a new place every year. When I lived there, literally, that's what I did. Was every year I was in a new apartment, in a new home, and people have followed you. How many members do you have going now?
We're currently at 5,000 members when you count all couples. I think we're going to probably reach 6,000 before the end of the year. A lot of people coming to the digital stuff that we do, which has been really good, but also just using it as a place to find partners during quarantine, which for a lot of people is difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's growing and it continues to grow. And now it's a little bit more international. So we have, members in other countries and stuff. And the goal is to open more clubhouses, open more spaces, give people access to this everywhere.
Yeah, it's just going to keep growing. Seriously, I see that happening. It's controversial, however, to be hosting any kind of a party during this pandemic. I'm sure you've heard all kinds of reactions to, sharing that news with people that, yeah, you guys are still open and, hosting events. How on earth has that been? What have been the challenges? What are the safety measures?
I mean, there's definitely been serious challenges. We actually just went back to closing again.
Oh, no.
We've been following the wave. So for us, it's like we open when, the infection rate is at a certain percentage. If it stays around 1% to 2%, then it's a little bit safer for us to open. If it's at 3% or higher, we all have to shut down. So we were open for a few months from June till just this past weekend. And it was great. It was like, no more than 50 people at a time indoors, and kind of a really good experience for the people who were able to come.
Hmm.
A lot of the events were smaller, which was good as well. But now with kind of closing back down again, we're just waiting it out. We're hoping that this wave is shorter than the last one. We're hoping that, New York City kind of opens things up again and allows us to be open.
Yeah.
But for now, we're just focusing on digital and getting people onto there, which has grown well and does well. And yeah, we're just kind of excited to host digital play parties for a bit
Yeah.
and then slowly work on, whatever comes next.
Yeah.
We're writing it like everyone else.
Yeah, just riding this out. It's wild to see how a sexual event, an event based on interacting and meeting other people and having that physicality. It's strange to picture it actually transferring to a digital platform and a digital experience so well. But I mean, what has surprised you about it? What actually has been a lovely surprise in this?
I mean, we've had some really interesting moments. So when we started the digital parties, I was in SXM. I had gotten kind of trapped on the island of Saint Martin and couldn't kind of get back to New York. So we started the digital parties while I was there.
Yeah.
And at one of the parties, there was this girl who was on, and she's like talking about, where she was, and she's like, "Oh, I'm in SXM," and I'm like, "Wait, that's so crazy! Like you're in the same." Like you're somewhere on this island. She's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm like, where are you staying? And she's like getting nervous. I was like, no, but like, where are you on the island? Because I'm here too. And it ended up being she was our next door neighbor.
Oh
And
my
she was
God.
a New Yorker who had been a member of NSFW, had no idea I was down there, but came to the digital party. And
Yeah.
then like immediately were like, hey, you're here. This is
Worlds
awesome.
collide on the other, so far away. I love that.
Yeah, so things like that have been great. And I also think for a lot of couples who've been curious about going to a play party, or individuals who have been, apprehensive or scared of going to a party alone, it gives them the opportunity to get a kind of taste of the
Mm,
event itself and meet other couples and meet other single people and, get playful on camera and have
yeah,
fun with that, and I think for a lot of people, there is that desire to be exhibitionists, to show off and to kind of be in front of people. And it gives them a way to do that in a safe environment, their home. They feel most comfortable and they can still feel sexual through this. And I think that's been really important. Plus, just the idea of like getting ready for something was like very novel to people during
mm,
this virus. Like, I have to get ready and go out. Like, was it an option?
right.
So this kind of gives people something to get ready for,
Yeah,
which I think mentally it just helps you like feel like there's something to look forward to, or there's
no
something to
shit.
do, or there's some reason for me to put on some lingerie and shave my legs or whatever else you want to do to feel
Yeah.
sexy.
But at the same
um
time, it's like, how cool is it that there's this other tier of experience available to people? And I would imagine if they don't feel like turning their cameras on, that is permitted, right? They're able to kind of voyeur and have that opportunity available to them, which, could be another beautiful way of taking it easy and easing your way into exploring this side of yourself.
no, totally. And I think that's a big element of it. It's that ability to kind of watch and be the exhibitionist and enjoy the experience of it, or
Mm,
to actually participate and be a part of what everyone else is seeing.
right.
And as our host goes through and as people get more comfortable throughout the night, you start seeing highlighted videos of people in their rooms and their homes. And there's something so sexy about that, of just being
Yeah.
like, you're kind of like inside of, someone's home in a sense, and inside their bedroom in a very intimate way. It actually feels more intimate than the parties themselves.
Yeah.
Because now it's like we have this window into everyone.
Yeah.
And because of that, we had to come up with new rules to like advise people on how to like present their homes.
Oh, good point. I mean, you're
Yeah.
very atmospheric over there at the NSFW clubhouse.
Yeah, it created the
Yeah.
atmosphere for everyone else, and how to like film in a sexy way, or create this content comfortably. But yeah, we learned early on, we're like, no like superhero pajamas for the one guy who decided to wear superhero pajamas. Like, you wouldn't wear that at the clubhouse. Like, don't wear it on camera.
No kidding. But in a
Yeah.
way, I would feel like the security guard in the sexiest shopping mall in the world. Like, not to say I'm out here purchasing people, but just that idea of having all these cameras up where everyone is feeling comfortable, at least the ones that have their cameras on, to share and play and present. Like, what an interesting development and way that you've kind of dealt with this pandemic because of it. Like, it's just masterful. I'm so impressed.
Yeah, it's definitely been something where it's like unexpected. Like, it was
Yeah.
unexpected that it would take off, where people would be into it. There was always that idea of like, oh, I can't imagine anyone going on camera and being naked, who's like not someone who is doing it in a certain way, or is familiar with that,
Hmm.
someone who has done that before or is comfortable with that. For these people to like just kind of, I don't know, just come to this space and be like, all right, we're gonna fuck on camera. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna do this. I think that's been the most interesting. um and also, like, the outlet never existed before, or it hasn't existed in this way. Like, you can kind of get front naked in front of strangers if you want to go on a campsite or anything else like that, and there's that opportunity. But
Yeah.
where it's like such a group of people there collectively to share just with that group, like, I don't think that has been around in this way.
That's why it's such a good gateway for, folk that want to explore that side of themselves, right? It's a beautiful opportunity that you've placed in people's hands. So in regards to this CAM4 Masters series, I'm hearing about, seeing about, and really just cycling through on, especially my social media, I'm seeing it being promoted everywhere. What is this series all about?
So Master Series is something we developed here at the clubhouse. It's various classes that we offer to members. The classes are designed to teach them about everything in sex. So
Mhm.
for Master Series, we are covering everything from female anal pleasure to squirting to BDSM, subdom play, pup play. We're literally going through some of the most popular things that we've taught here at the clubhouse and
Yeah.
making it available to a wider audience on CAM4. And the partnership has been great. The shows themselves are shoppable. We have like a partnership with Extreme Restraints, so everything that you're seeing that is being used, everything can be purchased.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been really, really fun. It's like, it's kind of bringing, that sex positivity, that message of, you should be pursuing a better sex life, and sexual health should be a higher priority in your life, because it's
Yeah.
not there. It's taking that and making it available to a much wider audience who can get it for free on CAM4, can, tune in at NSFW live on CAM4, and kind of get these little, I don't know, it's still a little peek into the clubhouse that a
Yeah.
lot of people can't access. And we've always been wanting to give them more access and make that
Right.
available out there. So CAM4 gave us the opportunity, and yeah, we've loved it so far.
I mean, online classes are a thing now. So obviously, this kind of a class should also be available. How did you decide what specific lessons or what's on the curriculum, like female anal play or whether it's rope tying? Like, how did you decide what that program was going to look like?
A lot of it comes from the membership and things that they're asking for. When we first, kind of came into the pandemic, we took all our classes and we asked the members, like, what should we provide you?
Mm,
And a lot of them voted on stuff. Some of it is based off of what masters we still have in New York, because these episodes are filmed here in the clubhouse, so we need
mhm.
people who are nearby. So a lot of people left. Like, a lot of people exited New York City. A lot of people who were working with us for years are now back home in Oklahoma or Florida or California or wherever else they went to. So some of it is based off of like, what pool of instructors do we have now,
Yeah.
and what type of lessons can we provide. um, but I don't know, I think each one has been its own kind of unique experience in creating it and developing it. we do 2 shows a night. So like the first show and the second show differ very greatly too in
Wow.
terms of what the performers are doing or you know what they're working on with their subs. So um, yeah, I think it's really just what people are
Yeah.
looking for.
You're like a broadcast studio over there.
We're
That's a great
trying.
way to keep busy, right?
We are very much trying. And even for like the new clubhouses, we do a lot of production here during the week of like adult content and OnlyFans content and just kind of make it available for members to use to shoot.
Hmm.
But it's a big part of it. It's like being able to create that content even through the pandemic keeps, you know, the brand out there, keeps people aware of the clubhouse. And I
Yeah.
think one thing with the pandemic that we're seeing a lot more of is more people with OnlyFans, is people
Yeah.
producing their own content, and a lot of these people building really, really big audiences and needing more space to produce. So what we envision for the other clubhouses is that they will become hubs for that during the week. And then on the weekends, it becomes like this place for the membership to enjoy and experience.
Totally. Totally. You know, Daniel, I've noticed, especially on your social media, you put a lot of focus on the mental health aspect of this pandemic and isolation. And you and I have talked about this at length because last time I was in New York City, I had expressed to you that I was dealing with some of the really negative effects of isolation. And we actually had a really lovely 8-handed massage that night that really brought me back to being around other people. And it was emotional and it was essential. Like you don't realize how far you can slip away from a happy mind state until something like this comes along. Why are you really focusing your lens so much on the mental effects of it?
Well, I think, you know, people want people to be safe. People want people to be healthy. I think that, you know, with COVID and, you know, the lockdowns and the things that we have kind of had to experience, you know, those things help reduce the dangers of COVID, but ignore the dangers of loneliness, ignore the dangers of lockdown, isolation. And when we start looking at those dangers, especially as to how they apply to, you know, kind of our core membership, which is mostly millennial, we're looking at higher rates of, you know, depression, higher rates of anxiety, less of a trust that the future is going to be positive and good. Um, Heading into Christmas, we're looking at a time where a lot of LGBT members of our community are dealing with broken families and not being able to reconnect in that way. Solo members are kind of dealing with this isolation alone and not really sure how to kind of move forward. And I think just hearing their stories as this was happening and those fears and just knowing that that's just going to amplify things like suicide, things like alcoholism, things like drug abuse, things like depression and other things that have lasting effects. I don't know. I feel like we ignore the real problems that are coming from this that we aren't really fully understanding and how dangerous that is specifically to millennials and to people who need
Yeah.
connection. We are social beings. We need that connection. So for me, the mental health aspect personally, like I feel those things, I feel those ways, and knowing that I have a place to go to or community or, you know, a space that feels safe or at home or where I feel connected, like helps me get through that. You know, even if
Yeah.
it's one day that I choose to do that, it's at least that one little thing that I need to keep going in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. So for me, it was definitely something personal, just dealing with my own, you know, issues with depression and stress in the past. For the membership, it's more feeling that pain, you know, being empathetic to that pain and to that isolation and to what that means long term for a lot of us.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone's ready to put their lives on pause and just wait 2 years. You know, there has to be this kind of balance. And I think the mental health issue is the one thing that is most impactful for me. So it's the
Mm.
one I'm most concerned about because, yeah, I would never want to see someone lost in this, not
Yeah.
because of COVID, but because of the other effects that we don't really pay attention to or think about.
We're going to be so changed by this, and it's hard to know what that change is going to look like, how it's going to move us forward or backward in this world, right? That's the thing. But trying to gauge your present self, how you're feeling right now, is so essential. And I know I avoided it as long as I could. I didn't
Yeah.
want to go inward and see how I was feeling about, you know, all of the changes and restrictions to every way that I was living my life before. But it's something that we need to do.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
check in.
You got to check in, especially during this time. You have to check in, definitely check in with other people. And, you know, it is an important time to still consider your sexual health.
Mm-hmm.
Sexual health is directly connected to your mental health. It's
Yeah.
directly connected to your ability to reduce stress and anxiety. And, you know, if you're going through another lockdown, like here in New York, we're like second lockdown, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we're going into another couple of months of like isolation again. And this kind of feeling of, that dread,
Yeah.
dread that comes in.
Yeah.
So, if you're going through that, it is important to find ways to connect, safe ways to connect, smart ways to connect, but don't just isolate.
Right.
Don't just lock yourself away. Really outreach and really connect in any ways that you can through this period.
And I know that it's strange to want to be sexually explorative at this time because so many people go, well, I can't be physical with others. I can't go out and actually try out some of these things or look to seek out physical encounters that will give me the chance to see if this is my thing or not. But we have so much time alone with ourselves. There is this great opportunity to go inward and maybe, whether it's exploring a new kind of porn or buying a new kind of sex toy. Do you think that enough people are taking this time to examine their sexual curiosities?
I definitely think there's been an increase in people exploring
Yeah,
things and kind of seeing what else there is. I feel like, especially within our age group, you're finding a lot more people looking to be more explorative and incorporate some more things into the bedroom. So it's not, it doesn't become stale or boring. Or now
yeah.
that they're seeing their partners more, they are having more sex. They're having sex more often. I think that's definitely a trend of this. A
So
big
exciting.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And I also feel like, I don't know, it was strange kind of going through this period, right? So, we started 5 years ago, and sex clubs 5 years ago were kind of thought of in a certain way. And there was definitely a stigma that was attached to them. But going through COVID, the amount of attention we had on kind of every single thing that we did,
Yeah.
whether it was like closing down or reopening or launching virtual and doing all this other stuff, it just showed that there's such an interest in sexual exploration. There's such an interest in like finding these sex positive spaces or finding places where people can kind of explore in a safe way. And I think that's what I kind of have appreciated most about what's been going on is like, it really did make a lot of people say, that's normal. Like going to a place like NSFW is normal. Going, having sex virtually is normal. These things are okay. And I didn't, the media wasn't like that before, and I
Right.
think a lot of this has just brought that more to the forefront, which has been exciting. But it's also made people kinkier, you know,
Do you see that
having some more fun.
developing? Yeah, do you see that developing further? I mean, I don't want to say that, hey, now Trump's out of office, yeah, everything's going to be glorious, but do you see this trend of maybe accepting sexuality and the exploration of it? Do you see it going a little more that way? Am I being too optimistic?
I see it going more that way. And I think what we're going to experience is similar to what we experienced in the 1920s when we, kind of got through the Spanish flu. We had this moment of the roaring 20s. You had a
Oh,
revival of sex and scandalous things and naughty things that weren't around at that time. People were
yeah.
so pent up, and you had this sudden like boom of energy that came. And I think that's what we're going to see. Like we're going to kind of go through 2020, 2021, and towards the end of that, as the vaccine's available, as people feel more safe to go out, as they return back to entertainment, I think focus on sex is going to become a bigger part of that. And we're going to
Yeah.
see that spread to more places. I also think like just, the simple fact that so many people have kind of moved to OnlyFans and to other platforms, and sexuality is kind of being more accepted. And we're seeing people being more, open with
Yeah.
that kind of conversation. I think that'll all help.
Yeah.
We've just gone through a massive trauma, not just the coronavirus, but 4 years of Trump that
Yeah.
have kind of put us in a place where we can see how we can push things forward. We can see how we can be progressive and to push these ideals forward. We know the enemies, or we know the people who are going to prevent that.
Yeah.
And collectively, I think we're moving for a lot of more of these progressive initiatives, and sex will definitely be on the forefront of that.
Sex is revolutionary. It
Sex is
it always
revolutionary.
will be. It always will be. It's where revolution is born, and it's how revolution is enacted. Truly, that's
Totally,
revolution. Yeah.
totally.
Daniel, how have you changed by this pandemic?
Oh, I don't know. I had like early on in this, I had so many like personal things that
Mm,
happened. Like I went through a breakup, and I was dealing with like friendships that were feeling very strained, and it was just a lot of things that hit me all at once.
yeah.
At the same time, like half my family is Jehovah Witness and very devout, and sees the coronavirus as a sign of the end, and
Oh,
think like the end of the world is here, and like they're preparing. So they're not talking to me because
yeah.
I'm like the worst person possible. And it's like I have this
Wow.
disconnection from family there. And then on the other side of my family, it's all police officers. and they're all major Trump supporters, and they're not seeing systematic racism as it impacts their own family and people who are their own color, and they're not seeing that. And it was just like this divide. So it was like, personal relationships were strained, friendships were strained, family was strained, and all the while, like, my community was there. All the while, these people who I were strangers before,
Yeah.
and are just hey, you want to come to my house and fuck? Like, it's
Yeah.
very strange to like call it, feel it's a community, but it's like this community was there, and even as I was going through these things, that felt very like, it's another one, it's like just another, like, fuck, it's like another thing, another thing. They were there, they supported me, and they've supported this vision of what we're trying to create. And I don't know, I think I've become, I've gained more faith in what I'm doing is right. I've gained more faith in believing that this is a mission and this is something that can be available to many, many people, and thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions. I feel more firmly established in, if all else fails, family, friends, partners, if all else like fails, like, there's this thing that got my back.
And
And
why,
it's a,
and just to press on that a little bit further, why do you think that is? Is it that this is a space, an operation that thrives in sexual freedom? Like, is that what it is that people want to be in support of and also need to be attached to for their own self-satisfaction? Like, what is that?
I don't know. I think it's a unique space to be in. For a
Yeah.
lot of people, it is their first experience in something that they've always wanted to do. I think there is a connection to the space that comes from that, and knowing that other people share these thoughts, other people share these ideals, other
Hmm.
people want, us to be more empathetic or be more compassionate or practice kindness, and try to implement that into our personal lives and sex lives and things like that. I think for a lot of people, it's what they've been looking for a long time. So there is this desire to keep it going and to keep it safe and to be a part of the community that we have. I think it's just like, we all put love into this.
Yeah.
We all really do put a lot into NSFW to make it keep going and survive and grow. And I think certain people just feel that, and that's been, yeah, that's the one thing that I've appreciated most, because it's not always easy to have, people in your lives. Like,
It
it's
just
not
shows
always
how
easy.
important sex is in the life experience and leading one that we are satisfied with and hopefully proud of.
Yeah,
You
totally.
know, that's a big part of it. Okay, so Daniel, people are at home jerking off like crazy, right? They can't stop. People are probably masturbating way more than they ever have in their life. I mean, I am. Is there anything they should be aware of in regards to, maybe I'm taking this too far? Is there a number of how many times they climax a day that they, they need to worry about?
I mean, I've never hit a limit, so I don't know. No. Like, keep it under 12, I guess. I mean, look, I think masturbation is extremely important right now.
Yeah.
You need that regular release of endorphins. You need that regular release of, just release. I think we all need release right now. I don't know. Like, yeah, don't wear anything out, but keep
If
going.
it's feeling good and you just
Yeah, if you're feeling
feeling all
good,
right,
yeah,
go
enjoy
for
it. Find one of those toys that connects to their partners, like connect to people and do like video chatting and enjoy like some play like that. There's always ways that you can make it just not a solitary thing, but also something that's shared. So, yeah, if you can make your masturbation something you can share, do it.
and do it. There's so many toys available where you can literally be on the other side of the globe from somebody. Well, I think they can reach that far. I don't know. I gave a good attempt to one, and it was like UK to
Oh,
Canada.
nice.
Wildly
Very cool.
successful. So
I
yeah,
think
it's
the app-based
possible.
ones are good. Yeah.
Yeah, there's really, really impressive ones out there. How else have you seen New York enjoy? Or look, the thing is, New York always perseveres. Okay, that's what I find. Is like, you can try and push New Yorkers down. You can try and take all of that drive and all of that beautiful aggression of the city and give them the worst situation to deal with, and they'll find a way to overcome it. Have you seen people or elements of the city refusing to be darkened or dampened by this pandemic? Like, people blasting music in the streets. Like, tell me what New York is like through this.
I don't know. It's like developing this really interesting underground scene that hasn't
Ooh.
been here in a long time. I feel like we're a little bit part of that underground, but there's definitely parties and events and things that people are attending and going to. I think a lot of New Yorkers have just taken to getting out of the city, honestly. Like there's
Oh,
definitely more of an escape to, the Catskills or to Poconos or Connecticut and other spots. So we've seen an exodus for those who are here. I don't know, honestly, the protests brought about so much. Like when the protests fell was like kind of a good time for COVID because people were getting into that state of like not leaving, and then all of a sudden you had thousands of people on the street and thousands of people reconnecting. And I think that energy of the protest kind of pushed a lot of what was happening in the underground, where you started seeing things pop up and being outside concerts or outside parties or outside fun things. I definitely got invited to a play party that was like outside, and I was like, oh, it's really interesting how you figured out how to do an outdoor play party. So
fun.
people are figuring it out. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot more play happening in private residence and people kind of coming together in that way, which I think is great. I think without, all of the sex parties running and everything going on, people are still figuring out how to connect and how to play. And they're just being, responsible by keeping it small, which is good. So the vibe is still very much alive. We just have to get through the winter.
I'm coming. Don't worry. You sold
I
me
know.
on it. Boom.
I know it's
Done.
going to be so good. New Year's
I
Eve.
can't wait. I can't wait to see you, and I can't wait to just roll all of my luggage into NSFW. You guys are stuck with me.
Perfect.
Daniel, for everyone who's fallen madly in love and is just so enchanted by everything that you are, how do they get in touch and learn everything about NSFW?
Just ns-fw.com. You can search NSFW Club or visit us on Instagram at We Are the NSFW. And those are the best ways to get in touch with us.
Oh, just keep doing what you're doing. Everything
Keep
is
going.
making us feel good. Thank
We're
you.
going to keep going. Orgies.
Oh.
10. It can only be 10 people right now, but we're still going to try doing orgies.
It feels so good. Daniel,
Thank you
so much for today.
Thank you.
I'll see you very soon. And everyone else, hope you enjoyed this episode of Licked and Loaded. Big thanks to CAM4. We'll catch you next time.